Greetings, class. You are here with Dan Borrero and Kris Haskins, real estate investing tips, strategies, and secrets. You can hit it, Dan. I think it's ready to go.
Yeah, good
This
deal.
is the only real estate investing live broadcast where we actually take live phone calls from you. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're doing in the real estate marketplace. Are you doing deals? How can we help you? How can we serve you? You got tenant issues, contractor issues, loan officer issues, appraisal issues. You got tenant issues. You got landlord issues, whatever construction issues you got. I promise you, Dan Borrero and I are going to be your mastermind. Dan, let's talk about the importance of having a mastermind and people to sharpen your own brain. Tell me about that in your life.
Um, when you say masterminds, I just want some clarification in reference to the question, if you don't mind.
I
Like,
want to
you
know
going
about people.
going to networking events, is that what you're talking about?
Well, all of the above, but just to have access to people that are doing things and moving and shaking and actually taking action and practicing this business.
Look, the reality is, tell me who my grandmother used to tell me when I was a kid, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are, right? So
Mm,
tell me who the people are that you surround yourself with, and I could tell you who you're going to be, or what direction you're going in, or who you want to be, right?
mhm.
I know it's kind of like very cliche, but that saying is so damn true, don't you think?
I'm going to take it further. I heard Alex Hormozy say, I don't, he didn't really care about who you're hanging around because some people marry people that don't necessarily lift them up or whatever, or even have family members. Who do you compare yourself to? Who do you compare yourself to in your mind? Are you comparing yourself to a guy that does minimum wage? And there's nothing wrong with that if you that's what you want to do. But I know I want to compare myself just to the best future of myself and to a guy that's going to take care of his family and leave something for the next generation too. Dan, go ahead.
No, no, I was just lowering the
Oh,
volume on the other screen.
I also wanted to ask you when we're answering questions tonight. I wanted to ask you like I had to step back. I was talking to one of my mentees today. He goes, Kris, what do you think is the most? Give me something that was really helpful for you that helped you over the years, right? And I'm like thinking to myself, what helps me now would not have, well, some things would not necessarily have helped me then, right? Some deals, especially with real estate, there are a lot of deals that I won't do now that I would have done back in 2004, 5, and 6. And I just want to make sure that when I'm asking you, Dan, can you kind of, when we're answering these questions, I need to pull you out of today's Dan and take you back to 1990 Dan because you do things differently, no doubt.
Right.
Like some deals, I can only imagine some of the deals you're like, man, I would never do that, but
The reality is that you and I both, fortunately, as a result of our hard work and our steadfast focus and our relentless stubbornness not to give up, right? We are today in a position that many people aspire to be who want to be in this business, right? Which is
you got to be a good steward of
well,
that.
we have the authority to come on here and answer people's questions the way we do. But because of that, we're also in a position to have other opportunities available to us that otherwise would not be available to people starting
Don't
off at
pop
the
up.
beginning that weren't available to us. So, and one of those opportunities comes, many of those opportunities come, in my opinion, as a result of us having the assets, whether it be in cash or something to leverage to move on and do deals, right? So I think that you and I were in a position where we could say, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this deal where we could only make 35,000. We could make 35,000 because if I wait a little longer, I could put that same amount of energy and that same amount of money into another deal where I can make 70,000. But that only comes as a result of the years of networking, right? Right.
Time.
Time, the years of developing a
Just
brand, the
time.
years of developing an honest reputation, the years of living below our means, so that we have that liquid cash whenever we needed to move into another avenue. So in our case, there's many times I find myself not doing a deal I would have done in my younger years because I could take that same amount of time and that same amount of money and move it somewhere else to make more money.
Well, the thing I just want to make sure when we answer questions, I was thinking about you today. because my guy was asking me, "Would you do this? Would you do that?" I'm like, "It's only you're only going to make X dollars." And then he asked me, "Well, he's only 21." And I'm like, man, you know what? That would really be a smoking deal for a 21-year-old, Dan. And it's no disrespect to anybody that's younger, or
Yes.
it wasn't even a thing. It was just like, if
And
I
you
want to,
told me I was going to make $5,000 on a deal, I would have done it.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think
No,
there's nothing wrong with that.
today it's like no, won't do it now.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that we preface this, especially with a Dan Borrero. Dan, I'm not flexing you, dog. I need you to just walk in it. Like
Appreciate
if Dan's gonna do something, I'm like, I need to be. If this guy's gonna even touch it, you just imagine, he's not even gonna have time to put his finger on a deal unless it's bringing back. It's just not a good time of use of his time and or resources.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, I'm in a much different position than you are too, because you still have two kids that you got to worry about college and everything else with, right?
Three.
Right, three. So I'm on the other side of that. I've gone through that road. I don't have my kids are all adults. Those diplomas back there belong to my kids. They have
Sweet.
no student loans. I have no debt. So I don't have to take those chances like I used to. Now it's more about when I do a deal, I'm doing it because it's really that sweet of a deal.
Hmm. So y'all remember that. I just want to make sure, Dan, we might need to do a little time traveling as we answer these questions. And it's nothing against you. I'm just like when I can see you answering questions, and it's the today Dan. So I want to make sure we're kind of
Yeah.
going when I do that. Just time traveling. Is that
Uh,
okay?
yes, of course. So let's get the audience to come on and dial that number right on the
Dial that
screen.
number.
So you can come on and ask us these questions directly. What's happening in the real estate business, Chris, that we should be discussing?
I listed a house 2 days ago. I got 3 offers. So
Love
we'll
it.
get into that in a minute as we take this first caller here.
Laquita Marie.
This stuff still booming. Hey, caller, you're on the line with Kris and Dan. Please state your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, hi. This is Chef Laquita Marie with Superfood Parents, and I'm calling from the Hampton Roads area.
Shaquita Mari. Did I say that right?
Did we lose her?
Oh, I think I messed up. You said Shaquita Marie?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we might have from time to time, we just don't got the best technology. We're working on it. Shaquita, you're Hampton from Hampton Roads. You right here in my back. I'm in your backyard. Shaquita Marie. Is it Mari?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm in the local area, and can you hear me okay? I'm just trying to make sure my reception is good where I am.
You sound great, Shaquita. How can we help you today?
Oh, okay. I'll see here then. Yes, I was calling. Actually, I've been following you for a while online, and just wondering, listening to both of you as veterans in the game, um, uh, just wondering how, as a local person, not even local, like, if I was international or local, as an everyday person who loves real estate and would love to invest in real estate, I've heard you, Kris, say several times on your channel, oh, if you want to invest with us, call. And you said a few other things like if you want to, do any deals with us. But just wondering, between the two of you, do you all offer any investment opportunities? And I ask because, I do very small real estate investing on like some platforms, but not with actual folks. So just wondering, is that an opportunity that you all offer? Is it something that you've been in the past, that you're looking forward to, that you're into right now? That's my question.
That's a good question. You talking about ROI type stuff where you put money in some of our deals?
Yes, yes. Sometimes there are like lending clubs. Um, and when I say lending clubs, I'm talking about like, just the peer-to-peer
Yeah.
lending clubs that are fully established and whatnot. But then also, I know sometimes people do their own
Yeah.
investing groups because they're real estate investors or they're investors of whatever type, with crypto, with just banking. So just wondering,
Real
yeah,
estate.
if you all offer any of those opportunities. Yes.
Cool. Okay. Dan, you want to go?
You go
This is
first
my
on that one.
thing.
That's your
Yeah,
thing.
I got. Let me rewind a little bit because Shaquita, thank you for bringing this up because you are the prime example of what people don't even know that's out there. A lot of people think they got to go to the bank, they got to go get mortgage loans, they got to deal with hard money lenders, they got to do all this traditional stuff when there's people out there like you that will finance all the deals that they want to do. Because we work with people like you to finance. We got over 1 million out, right? Well, not now, but up, over the last 2 weeks, I've got a lot in. But we work with we consider you as something called a private lender. So you would come in, we show you the deal, all the numbers, the ARV, what it's worth, what we're buying it for, how much the renovation is, and then whatever you have, you would put into it, and we pay a flat APR on that. So I want people to understand there are a ton of people out there, just like Shaquita, that has capital. They're looking for you guys, my Roundup family, to be the savvy investor to put the deal together and have Shaquita come in and finance it, and both of y'all make a return on these deals, y'all. This is a great topic to talk about.
It is. It is.
But see, when I met Dan, he wasn't doing this stuff, Shaquita. I
No.
was like, man, you the perfect guy to take people money. You don't need it. You've been doing this forever. You got your own money. You got deals. So Dan, I don't speak for Dan, but we work with private people all the time. But not all money is good. So it's all about the relationship. It's about the temperament of people. It's about the attitude and the deals. Because I'm so blessed. I'm thankful. We work with people just with great attitude. Right. I have had a few people that have given us money and they give me a hard time. I'm like, I just don't need to deal with this. So that's the type of people that we work with.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not I'm in a position in my life where I actually finance 99% of my own deals. A few times I do need money. There's a set of people that we go to, that we don't even need a do we do contracts, and we do we do secure their money with making sure that they're the first mortgage holder on the deed. So in the
Mhm.
event of my if I should pass away tomorrow for whatever that reason is, their money is always secured against the property.
Yep.
But that's a very selective few people that I do that with, because, as Chris said, um,
You have to.
yeah, I'm spending too much. I would spend too much time trying to calm them down because they've never done it before, and not that I don't have the patience for it all the time. Um,
But Shaquita sounds like she's pretty level headed, man. I
yeah,
think she'd
she
be a
is.
good candidate.
You could tell that she is, because a question like that and the way she formulated, you could tell
Extremely
she's
savvy.
not only savvy, but she's got experience. So,
Mhm.
but in the most part, I really don't. And I got to be honest with you, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so proud to go online with you, Chris, because unlike everyone else unlike most of the people on here in social media, where they're looking to do this to fill their pockets with other people's money, you and I are not doing that for that reason. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So, Shakir, I think it's a great idea what you said. I think there's plenty of people out there who do it. I just recommend that you do some major research before you release any of your own funds, and make sure that you are the first mortgage holder on that property. That property is going to secure any monies that you come out of pocket with, and that it's
We
going to be recorded.
we do that though. So Shaquita, we will be not necessarily just a You look for a Kris Haskins. It doesn't have to be me. Somebody that's going to put you in first position. Do you know what first position is, Shaquita?
You said, do I know what? Say that again.
Do you know what first position is in real estate?
No, I'm not familiar with that. You said first position.
Yeah,
Hmm.
first position. It's very important.
That hmm
You
right.
tell them.
No, I'm not familiar with the term. I'm assuming it's like on a deal. That's the person that you know what. I'm not even gonna guess, but yeah, I'll guess. I'm assuming it's making sure you're listed as like you are the owner, or you are the lien holder, or you are a part of that. You're not like um just like
Junior,
a child in the case,
not
a
junior,
dependent, right? But
not
yeah,
junior. You're
okay.
superior lien. Yes.
Essentially, you want to be that on that mortgage. It's essentially a mortgage. It's recorded
Yep.
with the county. So
Private
let's
mortgage.
suppose that same person wants to now go and refinance that, but not tell you about it. They can't, because when they
Or
do the
sell it.
title search, they're going to see you as the first position, meaning your mortgage is the first mortgage. So you have to be satisfied before they do anything with that property.
That's right, the primary lien holder. Shaquita. So you got, I put my email address after this. My email address is in the link below. You send us an email and we'll get some coffee if you're local. I love meeting my local homies. I don't get the chance to meet y'all a lot, especially during the holidays, Shaquita. Send my team an email. We'll see about catching up on some stuff. I got a couple deals that might be able to work with you on.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. I'll go back to the chat and finish watching from the live. Thank you for your answers.
And I appreciate you calling in. We both do. Thank you.
That was a great golly. My email is in the thing, and just hit more, and you can send us an email, Shaquita. Thanks for calling in. Dan, that was so good.
Absolutely, thank you.
Most people think ain't nobody out there to find that. I hear this. If I had hair, people just don't understand that there's people out there that have more than enough money to finance your deals. Just because they don't got the money. I was of that same mindset. I used to think, who has $100,000 to loan me?
So, and I tell everyone, I always say it on the air. When I met Kris Haskins in 2019 at a conference, and he was talking to me about that, and I was like, yeah, but I don't want to feel like I'm going hat in hand. He was like, are you crazy? He says, with all your experience, why would you be going hat in hand? You're making the money. And then we were talking about IRA money and self-direct money. And Kris hit the nail on the head. When I started asking around, and I did it reluctantly, but just to test the waters, there was an abundance of people who wanted to lend us money. And they were eager to. And I was not that I was surprised, I was flattered. But it's always worrisome, when you're talking about, I mean, Kris, am I lying? I mean, like, you constantly worry. You want to make sure these people get paid.
Yeah. That's a big responsibility. You are the hedge fund. You are the contractor. You're everything, dude. You're the inspector. You have to make sure everything is going right. And it's a big responsibility. And I understand why people don't want to do it.
Huge responsibility.
But it was crazy, Dan. If you do it right, you have more than enough. I promise you, just this month, I raised 350,000 because we've got so many houses out there. So it's enough out there for everybody, y'all. Stevenson, what do you guys think the interest rates will be going towards the end of 2025? Dan?
There's a lot of people buying in the bond market. So as long as the bond market continues to have a huge demand, I don't know if you look at it. I thought the rates would be coming down because they dropped it a half a point several months ago. Now they just dropped another quarter of a point.
I'm shocked.
Instead of the rates going down, they've been going up.
That's right.
So yeah, it's kind of I think we're gonna have to wait and see situation. This is the past few years. I feel like I've been living in like the twilight zone when it comes to like figuring out the economy. I mean, would you not say, Kris? It just makes no sense.
Yep. I would have bet then I would have hedged all my real estate that these fools wasn't going to, because to me it makes absolutely no sense to lower interest rates for what? What can it really do to help us with inflation, with the job? I mean, what can it do to businesses? I don't know.
So again, and then the crazy part is if you lower the interest rates, and the market continues to go at the rate that it's going, of course you're going to have inflation rates. Like people are like, oh, we paid so much money for this. Well, shit, you got more people working in the last 3 years, 4 years, and you had the biggest economic growth happened in 4 years than the last 50 years. In the last 50 years, you've had the biggest economic growth. What did you expect to happen? You have people spending money like crazy. The more money you spend, the higher the prices go.
Yep. Then so we listed a house the other day. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We got 3 offers in a day. And every time I do one of these deals, I've been doing this since 2004. Every time I still wonder. Do you second guess yourself, Dan, when you list a property? Or do you say, you know what, I know this thing is gone?
When you say wonder, in what sense? Am I wondering if I kept it or wondering Did I price it right? In what sense
Did you price it right? Are you gonna get offers? Did you do a good job on the rehab? Or somebody, just all the questions.
I think if you got 3 offers in one day, you priced it right, and you did a good job on a rehab, obviously, right? Now the
Let me show
question,
it to you. Go ahead.
what I like to do, which when I get 3 offers, is like, you put them against each other, then you tell them,
Highest and
you
best.
know, highest and best by Sunday night, and I'll make a decision on Monday.
Let me show y'all the house, y'all. I don't get to do this often. Can I show it to you, Dan?
Go for it, man.
So this is a 3 through 2 bath when we bought it. When I saw it, Dan, I'm like, damn, that's my house. I can't even believe it. It's just gorgeous. So I'm seeing if I can find some before pictures too.
So
It's
is
a
this stage?
townhouse.
I'm assuming you stage this house.
Yeah, we paid $2,000 for the staging. Yeah, that is sweet. So we're using quartz now, Dan, on the countertops. What are you using?
I pretty much use the quartz. Well, you know what I do. I go to the remnants guy and I say,
Oh, that's right.
these are my cabinets. What do you have that's remnants? And most of the time it's quartz. Very few times is I think everybody's using quartz right now, primarily because of the color, right? You're getting, you could get your color options are much more diverse than when you go with granite.
Yeah, they're not as usual. You're seeing so much granite. I should have put quartz in my house. I didn't even know what it was when I built the house. Dan knows this. Rafe, how do you get into real estate in high cost areas like NYC? That's Dan Borrero all day.
I'd love for you to come on, Rafe. Let's discuss that. I'm going to tell you, you're crazy.
You could tell him, Dan. You don't. You don't.
Don't. It's insanity. I just spoke to a 29-year-old today that I was taken aback with. She is 29 years old. Unbelievable amount of money in her retirement savings plan. And she's saving about 50% of her net monthly, weekly, every 2-week check.
Good
she
for
gets
her.
paid bi-weekly. She saved 55% of that.
Good for her.
She doesn't drive a brand new car. She has an older car. But the point is, and she even works on weekends, right? So, right. And she says, I got the savings down right, and I've got the work ethic, obviously. I says, well, so what's the problem? She goes, I don't know where to start. And I says, well, tell me what it looks like to you. Where is it that you would like to be like 5 years from now? And everything was in New York City. And I said to her, you're crazy. She goes, well, you do it. I says,
that's 30 years ago.
I did it when we didn't have the laws that we currently have today. I did it when the average time to get rid of a tenant in the city of New York was between 12 and 18 months. Today, it's 26 to 29 months. Imagine having a tenant in your property living for free for 29 months.
I can't.
Right? So besides the other laws that continuously come out to make it extremely difficult.
Tell them about the good guy law, Dan.
Good guy law. So essentially, which came out in April, the shortest portion of that is, the simplistic way to put it is, let's say the tenant owes you 24 months and you've been going to court, back and forth to court, spent, you're up to $15,000-$20,000 in legal fees, haven't received any money. And they go to welfare and they get what they call a one-time check, right? And welfare says, we'll pay it, but we're not paying you the late fees or the attorney fees. And you go to court, the judge says, you got to take it because he's a good guy, because he got the money he owes you. And the legal fees went out the window, late fees went out the window. There are sometimes I've heard some people getting it, but the majority of people don't. And now you got to keep that tenant. What do you think happens the next month? Same thing starts all over again.
It says here too, Dan, under the good guy law, I'm going to bring it up here. I want y'all to see this ridiculous. It's not just one thing.
Oh, yeah.
I like to get Dan's blood boiling. If
you're not going to get me going tonight, man.
Good guy guarantees encourage tenants to leave willingly. Tenants to willingly vacate the leased space if they cannot pay rent. This allows landlord to avoid potential lawsuits and let the suite quickly. So you could let them out the lease.
Oh, I didn't need a good guy clause to let me do that. I'm like, you're gone. I just told the tenant that actually This week, another tenant called me up, started complaining about some frivolous issues, and I was like, you know what, man, I've I've addressed every single one of your concerns. If at any moment you feel that I'm an unfit landlord, I'm not the landlord that you thought I would be, or I'm not taking care of my property in the way you thought I should take care of it. You have 6 months left on your lease. I'll vacate the lease right now. You can leave whenever you want.
Wow.
You don't even have to give me a 30-day notice. You could tell me you're leaving tomorrow, and I will even prorate the rent for you. And their whole tone
You're
changed.
crazy,
Their whole
man.
tone changed. Oh, but I didn't say I wanted to leave. I said, well, why in God's name would you want to stay? I'm a bad landlord. Yeah, the whole tone changed. Yeah.
Then we got some questions. You guys give us a call in. And by the way, starting tomorrow, I got my Black Friday special. Don't forget, please make sure you subscribe to my email address in the link below. We're gonna have a ton of goodies for you guys. So make sure you come back to the channel. And if you're on our email list, you'll get all that stuff too. Then shoot. Oh, I didn't look at IG. You got anybody on IG got questions?
I didn't
IG
even,
people differ from YouTube people. Did you notice that?
for whatever reason, we don't get a large volume of viewers on IG when we go on this. Normally, we should have 40, 50 people on IG right now. What do we have on YouTube?
Brian, we got 60.
Okay.
Brian wants to know, you should do a video recording a deed. I just did one the other day. They got this thing now. You got to print it up at your house. They give you this barcode at your house, Dan.
Yep.
You got to print this out before you even go, right? So I can do that. I don't have to record a deed of trust against the property. I can do that, brother. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. What about using a DS? Rafe says, what about using a DSCR loan as a beginner, Dan?
I like it. That's where I started. Back when I started, they weren't called DSCR loans. They were called no income verification loans. It's so funny how this business has not
Nothing
changed.
changes.
The acronyms have changed. The names that they use have changed to make it sound like, oh, let me tell you the secret that the rich people have been using. Hey, I was a poor guy and I knew about it. And if I knew about it, it wasn't a secret, right?
Right.
So if you're like if you're in a retail business where you're doing a lot of cash transactions, the banks don't really like you because they feel like you're not showing enough, or they don't know what you're really making.
Mhm.
You know, DSCR loans, I like them. The only problem with those is that you got your closing costs are going to be about 5 to 10% more, and your interest rate will be anywhere between a quarter of a point to sometimes as high as a point higher. But that's because the bank is requiring less documentation from you, and they look at it like that's a bigger risk, and they should get paid more. And again, I never had a problem. I would say the first 10 deals I did was DSCR loans, no income verification loans.
Here's the thing. Every deal I do is a DSCR loan when I buy subject to.
Rick from Queens, New York.
Every deal I do is a deal. They don't check none of my nothing. We're going to get to that in a minute, Deborah. Hey, you're on the line with Kris and Dan. Please state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Rick calling from New York, Queens, New York.
Rick from Queens.
Thank you for being here. New York in the house. Loving it. How can we help you today?
Rick? Hold up. First, before you say something, Rick, what's the temperature up there, man? Is it chilly up there? It was freezing last night down here in Virginia.
Oh, man. Come on. Give me a break.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, Rick. We lost you. Rick, you still there?
Man, today I was out.
Can you guys?
Rick, what's the temperature up there?
The temperature, I would say, is mid 40s, cold.
Man.
Cold.
I know you got freezing
Yeah,
last night.
Feels cold. It's windy. It's cold. I was out in the park earlier today with my kids, and the struggle to stay out there.
I don't think people understand Virginia cold and Queens, New York cold.
Two different animals.
It's slightly different. Different. Rick, how can we help you, buddy? What you got?
I'm from Queens, New York, but I'm investing in Eastern and Pennsylvania area. Just what Dan was talking about before with the tenant rights and things of that nature. And I'm wondering because I would love to invest in New York. My family grew up investing in New York through the 80s and 90s, and I'm just wondering how do you do it? How do you do it to be able to invest in New York? Because again, besides the money factor, the difference in capital you have to come with, just the turnaround, just very much scares me. So I'm wondering, I guess, because Dan's more in that market, Chris, how do you do it?
This is why I was talking about Dan. You see, we've got today Dan. Before I want Dan, obviously he's going to answer, but Dan, I think it is extremely important, dog, for you to tell us about today, and then I need you to rewind this shit, dude, because Dan does things a lot differently than he would do 30 years ago. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I don't believe if I had to start all over again, I would start in New York City, which would have made it so much harder having to leave my comfort zone. Rick, it's like I'm sure when you go to Eastern Pennsylvania, it's consuming a lot of time just to driving time alone, and many times that's a downtime unless you could use that time to make phone calls having to do with the business.
How
Uh,
far is it, Dan? You talking an hour?
Depending what party's in, how long does it take you to get there?
Um, without any traffic, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Not too bad.
So, but that doesn't happen often because we're in New York City and you're in Queens. So, just getting onto the BQE alone is a bitch. Am I right?
Yeah.
For me, I take the belt. I'm off the belt Parkway, so I take the belt early in the morning, 6 in the morning,
Five,
whatever,
6 in the morning.
and I get there in less than 2 hours.
Okay. So, look, the reality is that I think anyone that buying in New York City right now, with all the new regulations coming out by the city council, you have to have some serious deep pockets, right? Right now there's a proposal where and I pretty much I'd be surprised if it doesn't go through. They're proposing that every single landlord in the city of New York provide air conditioning to every single door, and that's not window units. That's either split units or duct units. So on
Oh
average,
my
that's going to
God.
run us between $18,000 to $25,000, because if you stop to think about it, right, not every building has enough
Watt.
amperage to sustain every single apartment with that kind of electricity. So now you got to bring in new lines from the street
Mm,
into the
mm,
basement.
mm,
Then you got to bring that new line to with 100 amps to each circuit breaker box
mm.
in the basement for each apartment, and then you got to bring that 100 amp into each apartment, and then you got and by the way, you got to pull permits for each phase of this, right?
Must
And
money.
then you have to um, not only then you have to repair all the holes that are made to bring this amperage up to each apartment through the hallways or into the apartments itself, fixing those holes. And then you got to pay, like in my case with some of my buildings, I'm gonna have to get a crane to shut down or partially shut down some of the street. So now I got to pull a permit from DOT, Department of Transportation, to then put this apparatus either on the roof or against the wall, right?
Oh my
So, and that's
gosh.
another permit. And then it's just one delay after another. And then because all the electricians are going to be extremely busy, they're going to name their price and they're going to get
Right.
it. So whatever this job would have cost you this year or next, when this if this law
Double.
passes, which I suspect it will, I'd be surprised if it doesn't. It's not double, but probably triple. So these are the.
Dan, I got a follow up question with that.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering. I mean, I've seen this in different levels in condominium world also with the local law work that's required year after year. And I'm wondering, you being in the field for so long, do you think that the goal indirectly or directly from the cities and government and the politicians is for there only be life for the big guys in the real estate game?
The way they're moving, you would think that is their goal. But that's giving these fools too much credit. You're actually thinking that they could think that far ahead, and I don't believe they can. You have a bunch of people passing laws imposing upon us, and the majority of them have never run a successful business of any kind. And if they have, they've declared bankruptcy. But they want to tell us. I remember this. I'll give you a perfect example, Rick. Rick, do you remember OTB in the city? They were on every corner, especially on every.
Oh yeah.
They had an OTB
yeah.
on every neighborhood. Remember that? Right. So for those people that don't know what OTB is, that's off-track betting. So instead of you going to the track or going to your local bookie, right, you would go to OTB and you could sit there and bet on any horse race in the country, right? And they would bet, and now they have their money, right? OTB has the money before the bet. These people went out of business. They were paying less percentage to the winners than the bookies were. How come the bookies are still in business and OTB's out? Think about that. Because it was government run. Nothing the government runs is run effectively, right? Let's take NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. So they are probably, I don't know, but I would suspect the largest landlords in the state of New York. That's New York City projects. But yet the projects are filled with crime, roach infested, rat infested, mice infested, broken door locks to the building, elevators don't work half the time, a lot of lead paint. But those very same people who are supposed to be landlords, the city council of NYCHA, those poor people living in these buildings, they call up for a repair and they got to wait weeks to get a response, to just get looked at. We respond like this. But yet these very same city council people who can't manage their own business are trying to tell us how to manage ours. So no, I don't give them that credit, because that would suggest that they have the intelligence to think that far ahead, and they don't. So this is one of those questions, Rick.
Thank you for that.
That gets my blood going.
All right, I hope he helped you, Rick.
Sorry, guys.
I love the question, Rick. I love the question. Thank you. But man, if there's do you have another question you wanted to ask us that'll help you?
Well, real quick.
No, I just wanted to thank you guys for hosting this show. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys sharing so much valuable information. So thank you.
All right, Rick. Thanks for calling back.
Thank you.
Talk to you next time. All right, peace. All right, Dan, go get your blood pressure pills. I'm sorry, y'all. Look, Black Friday special starts tomorrow. Make sure you come back to the channel. Join our email list. It's in the video description below. We'll take one more call. Dan, you cooking or eating on Thursday? What are you doing?
I'm eating, man. I never cook. I'm a good eater. I'm not a good cook. You can see it in my face cheeks, right? How good I eat.
Deborah says, you crazy if you're investing in New York. Where can I, Benny, where can I get $50,000 to buy a fixer-upper fast? Bank or credit union or someplace else? Yeah, we just use private people, man. You know what? Let me take that back. Benny, depending on your expertise, you need to go to a bank or a hard money lender, depending on your expertise. What'd you say, Dan?
Man, how do I say this without sounding like I'm mad?
You're always mad, so just say
I would love to know why you need 50,000. Like, if you want 50,000 to buy a fixer-upper, I suspect you would need more. I guess it depends where you're at.
Indiana.
But my question is, why would you need it? Why don't the first question you should be asking is, why don't I have it?
Oh, Darren, that's rough. It might be starting out, Dan. I didn't have any money when I started.
Okay, but that's the reason why it would be best if we could actually have this person come on and ask us, because let's say I somebody called me up about a year ago. Person had a great New York City job, making about $160,000 a year, and he wanted to get into the business and without using other people's money. So he's about 35 years old. He still lives at home with his mother and father. Doesn't have any
Man, you
wife. Doesn't have
chilling.
kids. So I'm like, I'm just trying to understand this, bro. I says, you make 160,000 a year. How much do you have? He says, well, I got about 25,000. I says, so you pay no rent, pay no food bill, no electric, no gas. Make 160,000 a year. You got no alimony, no child support. Why do you need other people's money? And he was explaining. He goes, well, I got a car payment. I says, well, what does that look like? He said 1,200 a month. I says, well, what's your insurance? He says another 300 a month. I said, so you got 1,500. You driving every month. It's $1,500 a month, right? Because
Good Lord.
he goes, and when I take my vacations, I go first class. I get bottle service when I go out. And I said, bro, why in God's name would anybody give you money? He says, well, they give you money. I says, they would. But guess what? I says, I got a road behind me, like Kris always says, right? I've taken the time out to live below my means. Kris is taking the time out to live below his means.
Big time.
Right? And whenever we
Almost got divorced over that.
100,000, we just spent 100,000. We bought another. We bought 2 more properties.
Yeah.
With that 100 grand, right? So my question is, if you don't have it, question you should be asking is, why don't I have it, and what do I need to do to get it? Right? It's like I learned something. My brother said something to me once, and it made sense. He goes, if we can't afford it, we need to figure out what do we have to do to afford it, instead of saying that we can't. And I was like, 100% right. So that's the question you should be asking.
Steven wants to know, can we get an insurance guy on here? Yeah, I'll talk to Dan about that. Action. How do you get around a DD fee? What's a DD fee?
I don't know.
On a 475,000, 16,000 down, 5%, 10-year balloon. I don't know what a DD fee is. Action. If you could tell us what that is,
that would help.
Yeah.
That's one of those new acronyms, probably.
Yeah, the same thing we've been paying. Rafael, what about the broker fee going to the landlord in NYC? Still got to pay it.
The brokers, I think, some brokers will really don't roll down with law.
I'm getting right there riled up.
Broker fees, I think realtors who do rentals are gonna take a haircut in the market, because the reality is, if the landlords have got to pay that, it's sometimes, depending on the market and where the apartment is, sometimes you can't roll that additional expense into the rent, right? Depending on how competitive the market is. So what you're going to have is a lot of landlords saying, you know what, I'm going to do this myself. A lot of mom and pop landlords are going to say, I'm going to do this myself. And the majority of apartments in the city of New York are owned by mom and pop landlords. So the problem with that is the housing costs are going to be inundated. They're already inundated. They're going to get more inundated, because many landlords don't know how to properly to vet a prospective tenant. They don't even know how to run the credit or the housing check or the criminal check. So, they're going to be a lot of mom and pop landlords taking the wrong tenants, which is going to increase the volume in housing court. I would say 12 months from now, you're going to see it.
It's going to be crazy. I took that class yesterday.
But those realtors that were getting 15% of the annual rent, or 12% or 10% of the annual rent, because that's what they were getting from renters, they're going to take haircuts with their fees. Like, if you come to me, I'm like, you're getting 1 month's rent. That's what the commission is. And I'm going to roll that 1 month's rent. I said, okay, if I know that I just did an apartment, it was $3,300 rent. So now if I got to pay $3,300, I'm going to divide that $3,300 by 12. I'm going to add that onto the rent.
Divided by 12. That's all you do.
Yeah.
They don't even know that. We got a caller here, Dan. Hey, caller, you're on the line with Kris and Dan. Please state your name and where you're calling from.
Hey,
Kris, hey, Dan, it's Deborah Jackson. How you guys doing?
Good, good, good.
Hey, where you at? You Jersey, right?
Yes, Willingboro, New Jersey.
How can we help you, Miss Jackson?
What's going on,
Kris,
Deborah?
first of all, I want to thank both of you for hosting us every Sunday, giving us your time and giving us your wisdom and knowledge. I really appreciate that. I
Thank you for
also
coming.
wanted to thank you, Kris, for the class. I took the
with
that
Clint.
that class, the tax. Excuse me. I took that tax class
Yeah.
that you recommended. When I tell you that was an overload of information,
Yeah, Clint
my
got a lot
brain
of
is like,
stuff.
oh.
The dude's got a lot of talent, a lot of stuff going on up there, man.
Yeah, the
That's good.
estate planning and the asset protection
Lost.
that they talked about, that was good. It was a lot of information. I took a lot of notes and everything.
That's cool.
And they also went into planning your estate and giving the information and telling us that when you go to plan your estate, there's 3 things that you need to keep in mind. And I wanted to know if it was okay to just share that real
go ahead.
quick.
Okay, yeah, it's over there.
Okay. So they said the one thing is the state that you live in, get your operating agreement together, and they do anonymity. I think I'm saying it wrong.
Anonymity.
Like,
That's why we use trust.
yes, thank you. Yes. So when you're doing your trust, it makes
Nobody
it easier
knows.
for you to keep your private information private, and it keeps people away from stealing your things that you work hard for, your home, your accounts and everything, because people are sue crazy nowadays.
Yep.
Every time you turn around, somebody wants to sue for something.
That's true.
So they just gave a lot of great information on how you could keep better hold on your personal and your private possessions.
That's
and I
cool.
thought that was excellent.
But
They did a great job of explaining everything.
Yeah, Clint know what he's doing, man. Dude been doing this forever. You got 100-something doors yourself.
Yeah, you gotta have them on again.
Yeah, I need to. They have a whole team. It took me a month to get them on. They got like 3 people. They got a whole office just for dealing with being able to talk to these guys. But we'll work on that. I'm glad you let me know that. I'm glad it was effective because you never know.
It was. It really was.
But thank you so much, man.
It really was. And I had a question. For you, and this came up in one of the conversations. When you're doing a subject to, and let's say the person is staying in the house, they're supposed to be responsible for the repairs, right? When you're doing a subject to, the person that you're selling the house to, they're responsible for the repairs.
Well, in real estate, whoever's responsible is whoever negotiated. So I could buy a house and say, "Look, I'm gonna buy it, but you can put the roof on in a year." I mean, it could be so many things. Because say you're behind 50,000 or you got some equity. There's so many different ways you can negotiate that. Now, generally speaking, once you buy the house, then you're out of it. However, I've had people pay the mortgage payment for me after I buy the property. So it all depends on what you can negotiate, what you think is fair. For instance, if somebody hadn't paid their mortgage in 12 months,
okay,
and I say, I'll do this deal, but I need you to pay 3 months of the mortgage, so that's not out of the realm of being reasonable for some people, right? It all depends. I know you've been living in this house for 30 years. You never replaced the roof. I'll do the deal. I need you to do the roof. So it really all depends on what you negotiate. Dan, what would you say?
Same thing.
Yeah. So
it all depends what you negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, because my question is, let's say if I did the repair, they couldn't afford to get the roof and still pay the mortgage on it. Then I'm the one that gets to write that off, the repair of the roof, correct?
Whoever paid for it.
Okay. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, because you got to turn. If you get audited, every time I make a big expense like that, I always think, how am I going to prove this to the IRS? I know Dan can film me on that because when I've been audited twice, and they want to know, show me how you do it. That's all they want to know.
Yeah, when it comes to the IRS, you're guilty. Prove yourself innocent.
Yeah.
That's the reality. You're guilty. Prove yourself innocent.
Yeah, I know to keep a paper trail. My mother used to work for the IRS.
Oh, so know.
I know to keep a paper trail.
Yeah,
I know.
All right. Well, good talking to you, Deborah. Thank you. It's always great to hear your voice.
Good talking to you. Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and Kris, you stop beating up on Dan.
I'm gonna get Dan when I see you. All right. Dan's like my rich uncle, or rich older brother. I'm gonna give you a hard time. Dan, we got Thanksgiving coming up, man. Wake up.
I want to share some information with the audience, guys. So this conversation's come up several times about where to buy and where not to buy tonight. It just so happens I was doing some research today. These are my notes, as you guys can see here. Let's talk about states with the highest eviction rate. First is Virginia. Second comes in Delaware. Third comes in Indiana. Fourth comes in Texas.
Wow.
And fifth comes in South Carolina. I'll give it to you again so you guys can write this down if you want. States with the highest eviction rates: Virginia, Delaware.
I'm
Indiana,
number one.
Texas, South Carolina. Now,
Virginia number one at something.
Least friendly states. The states least friendly. What do you guys think that is? What do you think that would be, Kris?
I would have to say California first, then New York.
New York is the top of the list.
So look, you guys are getting the best of both worlds here. I'm in the most conservative state when it comes to evictions. And we voted for Kamala. We went blue this election. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that. No,
we went blue this year.
I'm surprised with that.
Hey, caller, you're on the line with Kris and Dan. State your name and where you're calling from, please.
I'm calling from Bronx, New York. My name is Jules.
How are you,
Jules?
Jules, just turn off whatever speaker you have on the back end, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I just did that. Sorry about that, guys.
I hope I didn't spell your name wrong. Shit, I tried. Jules.
No, it's all good. It's Jules. I'm calling out of the Bronx.
Okay.
Calling out of the Bronx.
What's going on? What's going on?
So currently I've been having. Well, I'm a chef currently, and real estate is kind of yes.
Oh man, let's clap it up. Private chef. Private chef in the building.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I love my chefs.
Yes. But it's a very of course challenging industry. So real estate has been kind of the thing that I've been keeping my eyes on for the last few years.
And
so my question to you.
Oh no, everything's real estate's challenging too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it'll be a good challenge. A challenge of growth, of course, and potential, hopefully.
Okay. What you got?
So my question is on the aspect of Section 8 properties as far as the first rental property. And I've been watching a lot of your things, and actually I was watching something just recently with a young lady out in Arizona on senior living.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was really kind of oh wow, that's really cool. So I'm just kind of trying to just get some for the first time home buyer, what is the best way to go? I feel like this renting to just the public is cool, but it seems like there's a lot, especially where I'm at in New York. But I really want to do something where it's going to be more purposeful, or people are more in need of help. and I'm kind of teeter-tottering like which direction to go to with my first rental property.
So,
The
Jules, can
people
I
that
ask
needed
you a
help up
question?
there. That's why you can't evict them. They need so much help. The
Yeah,
politicians don't even let you evict them. That's how much help they need.
yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
you want to buy? You intend to buy
Right.
New York City?
I Dan.
I'm sorry, I missed that question.
Do you intend to buy New York City?
Well, I'm looking at Schenectady, a little bit more like outside of the city, upstate right now. Because I know that like units out there, you get 3 family, and it's a lot of movement happening out there. The city right now it's crazy right now in the city. I don't know if I really want to focus on the actual New York City, the 5 boroughs. I'm interested in kind of like going more like upstate.
Okay, so I'm a little. I always get concerned when I hear people talking about, Section 8 because then I'm going to get paid. Look, the reality is, and Kris is here, Section 8 doesn't guarantee that you're going to get
Hmm.
paid. I have mentees of mine that come to my
Okay.
class that went into to landlording thinking about Section 8 was, the ends all to be all. One of my
Hmm.
mentees right now, within a month from the time that they moved in, they said they didn't like the color of the kitchen floor. And
Mm.
it was like, you shouldn't have rented it then, it's the same kitchen
Hmm.
floor that was there when you applied for it. What's the problem now that
Hmm.
you moved in? She said, well, I never liked it. And he said, well, that's a you problem, you know, essentially,
Yeah.
not words. And so Section 8 came to do the inspection at the year end, as they do every year. They do have to do an inspection to make sure everything's up to par. And they said, you got to replace the floor. And he said, well, what's wrong with the floor? I was just there last month. And they said, the
Mm.
floor has cracked tiles. The tenant intentionally cracked the tiles. So he had to spend,
What?
literally almost
Oh.
$1,000 replacing the floor,
Mm.
so that he could get paid from Section 8, even though he had proof that the floor was perfectly fine because it would have never passed inspection if it had not been the first time,
Right.
right? Plus, he had the pictures. So, these are the things that happen now in New York City. In my in situation, my Section 8 tenants I have no problems with them. I actually think they're good people. My problem is with Section 8.
Hmm.
Call up Section 8 to try to resolve a problem. I'm on the phone for 45 minutes. And then when they pick up, they get angry that you had the audacity to let the phone ring for 45 minutes. And then they put you back on hold.
Mm.
And God forbid if you tell them, like, what the hell's wrong with you people making me wait this long, they hang up on you and start the whole process all over again, right? So,
Okay.
that's not all Section 8. So my Section 8 experience in New Jersey, totally different. It's been a pleasure. It's been a breathe. Every time I call their social worker, they answer, they respond within, you send them an email in the morning, they respond within the hour. Totally different scenario. So, if you want to go with Section 8,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with you doing that. I just want you to go in with your eyes wide open. Understand
Mm.
what's customary in that area for those Section 8 departments.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So great.
I mean, Kris is better
Well,
to.
I mean, yeah, I would like to hear your answer on that too as well, Kris.
Well, you already know I'm like a Section 8. That's my thing. They paid off tons of houses for me. However, I had to turn
Mm.
it. I am the person that knows how to manage them. Like that's what I do, right? So, but that took me. I've been doing it since '04, like dealing with bad tenants. So I have learned that over the years. It's going to be rough at the beginning. You're not just going to just walk in and get the best tenants. It just doesn't happen like that. You might get beginner's luck for the first one or two, but you're going to have some rough ones too. So yes, the
Yeah.
money's good, but I want to make sure that we are investing in your education so we know how to manage these people. I would start getting your education, how to manage them first, and then going in to do that. Yes, Section 8 to me, man, that's been my saving grace, dude. I
I
can't.
mean,
Okay.
I love.
Okay.
during the pandemic, if you were a Section 8 landlord, you were good.
Yeah. You're just pretty much like learning how to manage the people, the tenants, pretty much. is more of the aspect is more management aspect more than anything.
Um, I would say it's more about learning how to manage your personalities at the Section 8 department, that whatever state or city you're in, as well as
Yeah,
understand how you need to vet your tenants. So my Section 8 tenants
yeah,
go through the same exact vetting process as my 9 to 5 people tenants go through.
Yeah,
Where
but they're not.
where
They
they
don't have
get
to
their
hold.
money
They
is
don't need no money though.
just have
They
to make
don't.
sure that they could afford it.
They don't have
What
to. You don't have to screw. You don't have to
yeah,
screen them as hard regarding their income because the government's paying the
Right. Well, the
majority.
income you don't have to screen as hard, but you still need to screen their personality traits. You still need to screen, their living habits, if they're slobs or not. You still need to screen if they've had problems with other landlords. These are the things
yeah.
that you still need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree on that. I've been watching a lot of episodes on just exactly what you're saying, the screening process and dealing with that level of personality for sure.
Jules,
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. That's pretty much the question I had for today.
do a free
Okay, thanks for
mentorship
calling in,
class
Jules.
every single Wednesday night.
All right, thank
And
you so much, guys.
we go,
All right,
we
it was a
go,
pleasure.
yeah.
Okay, bye.
I want
You can,
Jules and
you can,
all,
she can hear you, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
I want Jules and everyone here to know. If you could bring up my website, I want Jules and everyone here to know. I do a free mentorship class every single Wednesday night. All right. It's free to attend. It's free to sign up. It's at danielborrerojr.com. Kris is going to put it up shortly. So
Mhm.
if you want to come and we literally go deep into how to manage your tenants and how to manage your properties, right? So um, I highly recommend, if you truly want to learn this business, show up. It's free. It's every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. with the exception of this Wednesday because it's the day before Thanksgiving. But again, and Kris has been a guest speaker there several times actually.
Yeah, it's good stuff here, man. Especially get to hang out with Dan Borrero for free. Shit, that's worth it in my opinion. Get your questions here. My credit score, Gerald. My credit score went down because I used my credit card to fund the renovations. I currently refinanced and took out a loan to pay down my debt at 12% interest rate. Oh, what is the best loan I should try to refinance to a lower rate? Dan, my parents still live in DeKalb Avenue in Brooklyn.
I love it. Gerald Boone, come on, man, come on live with us. Call
That's a
in.
nasty interest rate.
Well, listen, it's a cheaper
I mean, it
rate.
might be lower.
It's a cheaper rate than paying that 19%.
Or 20. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You're right
So
on that. Yeah.
this is what I would consider, Gerald. Before I would have went and refinanced, and I've been in those shoes where talk about some damn creative financing. I at one point I must have had like 20, 30 credit cards in my life. Uh, when I
It's
found
rough, man.
when I found myself in that situation, I would take a loan from. I would go and apply for another credit card, take a loan, do a loan from the new credit card where I would transfer the balance from an old card to the new card, and they would usually charge me like 3% interest up front for that loan, but no interest up to 6 months. So I would have up to 6 months to pay it off, right?
Mm.
But then right before the 6 months, I go apply for another credit card, and then I would have the new credit card and do another balance, a transfer, a balance of a transfer of balance. So I never paid more than 6% for those transfers over the course of the year, right? But I was always chopped. Once I got the property up and going, and or if I refinanced the property, did the burst system, then I would pay it all off, right? But again, or once I had the property up and going, I would take all the monthly income to pay down that debt, right? So that was one of the ways I did it. I don't recommend everyone to do that. It's extremely
It's
stressful,
stressful, man.
but I was saving a
Stress.
lot of money.
Is this Hyro? Hyro is making 80,000 a month wholesaling. Question: is owning rental property worth it? No, not if you're doing 80,000 a month wholesaler. I wouldn't even be thinking about rental property right now. I'd be trying to.
I'd be the opposite. I'd be like, all right, what now? How is that 80,000? Because with wholesaling, you're only as good as the deal you did that month or that whatever you made that month.
Yeah, but he must have a system doing that though, Dan. He got a system. He ain't doing that by himself.
He should still be buying long-term whole property.
He got 7. He says they're all headaches. You need to get into lease options or doing seller financing. There's no reason for you
You
to
know
be
what?
mad.
If you got 7 properties and they're headaches, you're the problem. Most likely, you're the problem.
I knew this was coming. Why is that, Dan? The man making $80,000 a month.
He's probably
He
too
probably
damn
got. I bet he's got.
50,000.
I bet he's got hell of
potential.
overhead. He got a machine that he probably does not want to deal with those rental properties.
And when I hear landlords telling me how bad their tenants are, what I hear is that I'm not a good landlord.
How bad I am.
Right. That's what I hear. Right. If I hear my tenants suck, my tenants drive me nuts, my first thing to my mind I says, you must be a terrible landlord. If you want quality tenants, you need to become a quality landlord.
That's true, dog.
Right now, if you
I
don't
love
have,
my tenants, man.
yeah, I love my tenants. My tenants.
I had a tenant the other day. She says, I'm just texting you, letting you know everything's okay. I'm like, damn, this is okay.
Yeah, I mean, my tenants, I'll never talk bad about my tenants. For me to talk bad about a tenant, trust me, when I have a problem with a tenant, the first thing I do is I say, what did I do wrong?
All me. Me.
Did I not vet that tenant properly? If that tenant's calling me up and continuously for legitimate problems, that means I didn't renovate that job right. I used the wrong fixtures. I did multiple things wrong if I continuously get phone calls from the tenant for repairs. Me. I didn't manage my contractor. I didn't manage my worker. I didn't manage the purchase of the materials. I didn't vet that tenant well enough. What did I miss during the interview process? What did I not require in additional documentation to make sure that that tenant was a secure tenant, right? So the first thing I do is I look at myself. Now, so think about that,
Yeah. 7 rental properties driving you crazy? You're going to be in trouble. When you get more. That's another thing we need to talk about too, Dan. People want increase, but you can't even handle what you got. Hey, you're on the line with Kris and Dan. State your name and where you calling from.
Thank you, guys. I'm calling from New Brunswick, New Jersey. My name is Lenny de la Cruz.
Alexis?
Lenny. You can say Lenny de la Cruz.
Lenny Lexus, I think.
Lenny?
Oh, Lenny.
Yes.
How can we help?
Right. I have a property in Pennsylvania, and it was a single family, but I finished the basement. And you may say I'm a bad landlord, maybe because you just said sometimes it's not a bad tenant or a bad landlord. But the thing is that these people had the oven that had a problem. They notified me on Tuesday, and they said they had an activity on Saturday that they needed by Friday, right? Because they were doing a pig or something. The thing is that I told them I would send a technician, but they said no, but these things should be just replaced. So I sent the technician on Thursday. There was miscommunication. The lady called and said something with the F word, and I was like, okay, calm down. I will try to get it by tomorrow. And the thing is that she got annoyed, and the next day in the morning, she went to the city and said that I had someone in the basement. So I was actually rented out. And with that, she also said something about the electricity and that it was urgent, that the oven, blah, blah, blah. So the inspector went right away to the property, and they gave me a 30 days notice saying that the property has to be completely vacated and that everything has to be removed or was added aside of the original setup that the house had. So, and I was so worried that even yesterday I saw Kris' video. I was even taking notes with somebody called like Latika or something. She does evictions, because I was ready to just do an eviction, and it's because it's a month to month because the lease had ended. The thing is that at this point, thanks God today, they sent me an email saying that they were going to move, that they need X amount of money for the deposit, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But is there a way for me to work with the city to not have to close or demolish the one bathroom I made in the basement?
Kris, were you able to understand all that? I was getting an echo.
Yeah, it sounds like you got some tenants that had a leak in the basement.
Okay, Lenny, let me ask you a question. Do you have an illegal apartment? Is that what you're saying, that you made an apartment in the basement, but it's not registered?
Yeah, I finished the basement. Exactly, just the basement. They got mad.
Do you have a separate tenant living in the basement? Yes or no?
Exactly. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. Is that basement apartment registered as an apartment, legal apartment with the city that you're in?
It's not registered as a legal unit. No.
So they gave you the 30-day notice for the people below to vacate, correct?
That's it. Yeah, and for me to demolish. They even asked me for a permission to demolish.
If
And
let me
somebody
let
literally just
in my experience, I don't know anyone that's made an illegal apartment and it not eventually come back and bite them in the ass where it cost them all the money they made. That's
Oh,
number two. If these
oh,
people are willing to get out, if they're willing to get out with you providing them the money for their security and 1 month rent, that's a cheap way out. You should take it.
take it, Lanny.
yeah, definitely. I'm taking it. I just wanted to know if could at least there was a suggestion for at least keeping the bathroom fixed, the
I would
bathroom could be part
I
of
would
one single family home.
I would recommend that you speak to an architect in reference to that because Chris and I don't know enough about that particular area that you're in. But your architect would be able
Yeah,
to.
right. All right. All right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck to you, Lonnie.
Thank you. Good luck.
Dan, we don't have basements here in Virginia. Tell us what the hell's going on here.
So many times in the Northeast, we have our properties, most of the properties have basements.
Mhm.
And many times they may have even a separate entrance. But if those basements, the reason they're not legally registered with the buildings department is because many times those basements are not actually safe for people to be living in.
What
As
makes them not safe? Is this shit gonna fall in when
it
somebody's
may,
under
it
there?
may be that the windows aren't big enough or wide enough for anyone to get out in the event of a fire.
Oh, okay.
For the
That could
fire
be.
department to come in and rescue anybody. It may be that the entrance to that basement may be in a location that is not safe for people to evacuate from or don't have a second exit that they could get out from. It may be because the boilers are down there and there's a carbon monoxide concern. There's multiple reasons. Now, there's ways that you can make that basement legal, right? There's ways you could do that. But to do that, you got to go through the process and go through the buildings department and hire an architect and draw up the designs and maybe cut in, dig out the side of the building, and then where you can make separate stairs going out from the outside and then cutting a hole into the foundation, put a lintel on top. There's a lot that I could go. We could be on this for the next 2 hours. But when you do this, on the sneak, I don't know anybody that eventually hasn't come back to bite them in the butt.
Didn't get them, huh?
Yeah, it's
Always
not.
gets
Listen, if there's a fire and someone dies down there,
you in trouble.
kiss yourself goodbye. You're going to jail.
Oh wow.
You're going to jail.
That's deep, man. That's deep. Somebody is 21-year-old. Look at this BK, 21 years old. Bought my first property. How old was you, Dan, when you bought your first property?
27.
BK,
Congratulations, BK.
congratulations. You got me and Dan beat. I was 28 when I bought my first property. BK, we're going to get to you in a minute. Caller, you're on the line with Dan and Chris. Please state your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, how you doing? Mike, I'm calling from the Philadelphia tri-state area. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can, Mike. Thank you for calling in.
What up?
Yeah, how
Mike?
you doing, Dan? I wanted to Dan and Chris. I wanted to push back on your comment about the bad landlord situation with the guy,
the $80,000
the guy with
month
the
guy?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And so the reason why
He's making $1 million a year wholesaling. I mean,
and when you hold property and you have to get the dribble and drabs and you have to deal with the headaches and you have to deal with the maintenance and you have to deal with, even if you have a management company managing that, there's headaches that come with that. And there's problems. You're making, like you said, close to $1 million. You're feeling that I don't know how much of that is net or gross. But at some point, you're looking at that's your real income. And to try to hold these headaches for appreciation or tax depreciation, it's more of a like, you know, and I'm looking at that same situation now, like, do we keep these properties for the tax purposes or the benefits and keep the headaches associated with them, or do I just liquidate them and just invest in the market and do something else? So I just wanted to push back on that. That was one. But
Mike, you using? Go ahead, Dan. Let Dan go.
I'll let you go first, Kris, because go ahead.
I heard you say you have to deal with this. You have to deal with that. I don't deal with that stuff with tenants. Like, they move in, they give me 10,000 down. I don't hear from them. So I want to make sure we're clear with what we're all doing. Like, and I'm not saying I'm no better. I'm just a guy. I want to be your friend.
Right.
Like, all that shit, calls, toilet. I don't get those calls. I don't even know.
Right.
So when we say have to, it all depends. If you're Dan Borrero, yes, you do have to deal with stuff like that.
Right.
I don't. Now, I do have some regular rentals, but generally speaking, you're giving me the down payment. Dude, I never hear from my tenants. I mean, they direct deposit in the bank and it's over. So it all depends on how you want to run your business, you know? What do you say, Dan?
So, Mike, I say, again, I don't know if you were on it when we first came on, we were talking about, Kris and I were in much different positions than the majority of the audience that comes on to our show. Because we've been in the game so long and we've developed so much asset appreciation that we can leverage it, as well as we have huge amounts of cash flow, right? So just like what you said, and I'm personally at that situation that you just stated, where, you know, do you get out of the business and then just invest in the market? Right. Well, you know, the reality is, the only way you're going to ever be in that, that's a rich man's question. As a poor man, don't worry about that, because they don't have that option. So we are all fortunate, Kris, yourself, and me, right now, that we have those problems. That's a rich man's problem. That's not a poor man's problem. So when I was referring to that person saying that, you know, the question, he should be looking at what he did wrong. The reality is this: if you have property managers and you still got to manage, you got to spend excessive amounts of time managing your property manager. You need to get rid of your property. And that's not the property manager's fault that they're bad. It's your fault for picking the bad property manager. Did you see what I'm saying?
Right. No, that's right.
But what are you saying, Mike? What are your point?
100%.
So, Mike, tell us your point of view now that you're here. But what we're saying, let's hear what you're at.
So that's the beauty of having you both on and listening to both of you. It's always it's like everybody gets to hear two sides, and I love like with Kris's side, I love the lease option, right? I love that option because it shows people that there's a different way of doing it, right? And I love what Dan is saying, because Dan is pointing out the fault in somebody's execution and their plans. It's like, listen, if you did X, Y, Z, you're not thinking about why you did it or why you're not thinking this, that's a problem. So these are things that when I listen to you guys, I like to hear both sides. And so it's a beauty to that. And most of the call kind of, so right now, I have a situation with some commercial property, and I'm thinking, because it's always harder to refi commercial, and I'm getting tired of the balloons, I'm getting tired of all the BS, and it's kind of like I'm looking for a DSCR type of package for the commercial, and it's harder to find. So I'm thinking I just refinancing, just get out, let it go, is it, by the way, and Mike, take the money.
How much we talking?
Probably. Well, so I'm looking at about maybe close to one, right? And so if I'm looking, 1 million. So if I'm looking at on that property close to one, and I'm thinking if I can get probably somebody that can pull in maybe a 70% loan to value on that, right? And so if I can do that, then I can pull that, and I'll keep it, and then I'll just say, because the property generates about 90 to 95 a year, right? So If I can do that, then I'm fine. But the difference is I get tired of just dealing with it. And I just make so much more in the market. The market is returning crazy numbers right now. And it's just like, you just don't, like if you just do like anything you do. I mean, if you just decide to just do dividends right now, like SCHD is bringing in a certain amount, DGRO is bringing in 10%. So you're looking at just dumb numbers. But then I thought about Dan and I said, okay, what if I change up the model and I just start grabbing some residentials, DSCR them out, and then do Chris's plan, lease optioning those and take the residuals. But I just don't. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah,
Mike,
I just don't know if I want to headache.
How old are you, Mike?
In my 50s.
Okay. You still have any kids that you got to take care of? What did he say?
He said no.
No. So again,
no, I'm sorry.
you are in a position that Kris and I are in, right? So when a deal is brought to us, right. It's funny you brought up the market. My brother and I, and
Dan doing the same thing.
We're in the same situation. We get deals that are presented to us coming in with like a 7% cap, which is really not. It's actually a pretty good damn cap for commercial property right now in the Northeast.
Right.
My brother and I we just said to ourselves, like,
I don't want the headache.
I'm leaving my money in the market. I'm making 7 to 8 minimal, conservatively.
Right.
And I don't have to talk to a tenant. Right. So, and
I don't have to talk to anybody. Right.
I tell my commercial broker, I ain't looking at anything that's less than a 10 to 12% cap. He says, you're not going to get it.
That's right.
I won't buy it.
That's right.
Because, again, you put yourself in a position, and I know that didn't come easy to you, right?
Or fast.
Right.
Fast
you
either.
put yourself in a position where you have options, right? So you have what we call opportunity costs, right? So why am I going to go buy this property making 7% when I can leave it in the market and make 8%? Those are called opportunity costs.
Right.
Now, right. So, but you're in a much different position than our regular audiences, right? So you've made your wealth. Now you're spreading your wealth. You're creating, because you have the wealth, you have more options available to you. But when you're developing the wealth, and I'll give you an example. I was in the retail business. I had dozens of ATM machines. I had 2 laundromat businesses. I had literally a cell phone store and a beeper store. I was running all that while I was building my real estate empire, right? But then eventually gets to the point where even though every single one of those businesses, especially the laundromats and the ATM business, was making phenomenal amount of money, I didn't know when that was going to end. But I know the real estate is going to be here from here to kingdom come. So I had to let go of stuff because I wasn't dedicating my time to my real estate business and running it right. And then I was starting to have headaches because it wasn't well run. Right.
Mike,
so,
I want to ask Mike a question. I got to ask Mike. Could you go to the private sector for money for this commercial builder? I'm envisioning you sitting down at a table with these people. Each of them have 100,000 each, and they financed. You got the mill. You meet with them once a year, talking about our earnings. Is that in the realm of possibility for you?
So I got it's funny, I have a guy now, he wanted to set up a meeting with, because it's always harder. So I dealt with a broker, and he says, I got a guy, a private investor, who wants to actually sit down and talk to you about some of this, some of the situation, because it's always harder to deal with the banks. The banks are always going to want to ream you, right? And so what you want to be able to do is if the property stands on their own and they cash flow on their own, you want the property to be able to stand on their own. I don't need you to look at me as the personal guarantor and pull
you want
40 years of tax return.
The debt to stand on its own.
I want the debt. Right. And so what happens is you only get people who are commonsensical that actually understand it, and that's normally a private lender, not some underwriter that works for the bank and that deals with that. So a private lender is putting their money out, and they're saying, but I got one guy that's, like you said, at a 65% loan to value. We can probably negotiate to 70%. But at some point, with the commercial, you still have to deal with the appraisals. So I'm going to have to fit the bill on those to be able to do that. And the commercial is not, cheap.
So you already got the building, though. So you don't need to. You already own the building. You don't have to come up with no equity, right?
No equity. But if I'm looking at, let's say, from the
commercial,
the appraisals, and so what you have to come out of pocket with those. Yeah, probably. Yeah, anywhere between 5 and 10. Yeah, so it depends.
I'm not even talking about. I want to make sure we're 100% clear with each other. I'm not even talking about a broker that has a guy that loans money. I'm talking about, dude, ma and pa. Hey, look, we got this thing. Come check it out. You got 100 grand. We got people over here. They got 100 grand. These people, they are not lenders. They are not. They don't even know what 70% LTV is. Right? Like the people with loan me money. That's not even. They don't even. They're like,
but
Kris,
that's what I need.
That's what we're talking. I'm like, so is that in the realm of possibility? Yeah. Okay, cool. So every time I hear people say finance an issue, I'm like, dude, Mike, I love you. We buy real estate with a fucking email and a text message. I mean,
that's right.
It's like, so I don't even. I want to bring you here. I'm like, forget how much it is. The dollar amount's irrelevant. Right. But for you, I just like you gotta just develop that skill and art to sit down with people and say, look, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but if you want to get out of that world of have balloon rate, I mean, that shit, they don't even know what a balloon is.
But see, that's the thing. So you make me smile when you say that. It's a kind of a catch-22 because that's what I always say in our business, we build relationships. That's our life, right? Our life is building relationships. And so for me, I think I went through a depression for a while dealing with this, and I didn't want to deal with people as much.
What happened?
And you have to be able to, you get kind of jaded by doing this. Like I've been able to weather the 2008 crash. And I watched people lose everything. Mm-hmm. And I walked through 12 and through COVID and and it can really, and imagine, I talked to a guy that I've known forever, and he says, sometimes you have to let them go through foreclosure to get out. But for me, I always feel like people who look like me sometimes don't get a second bite at the apple, right? And so that kind of, like, I didn't want to go through a foreclosure or a bankruptcy type of situation because I'm looked at a little bit differently when it comes to coming back to the table. So I held on everything, and it was more like, I don't know if it messed my mental up. And now I'm kind of like, it's kind of, so I should have been dealing with people who had their 401ks, and I could sit down and talk. Because when I was doing rehabs and wholesales, I would deal with people when I was in Texas. I would deal with people when I was in Georgia who had that, and they would be able to loan you out money and do it. But when you get in the Northeast, it's a little bit different, and I have to be able to build, and it would have been better to build those relationships. So you're 100% right. But before I go, and before you guys kick me off, I wanted to say, everybody listening, these guys are the real deal, and they're giving you information that's accurate, but they're giving you commonsensical, everyday dealings to go with it. That's the point that you really got to focus on. When somebody's in the trenches, like when you listen to Dan, who's had multiple businesses, and he understands that, what happens is these are natural progressions for people. So when you start at one point, you're going to go into real estate because that's when you're going to get your tax benefits. But then you're going to say, at some point, I'm going to go and bump that up, and you're going to deal with the money. The money is where you're going to win because you understand it. So now you may be in stocks, or you may want to do hard money, or you may. So they're giving you all of this, and it's all for free. So listen to them. Listen to these guys. They're giving you everything that you need.
Mike, man, I can't thank you enough, Mike.
Yeah,
thank
you.
That
was really Mike. Yeah. We got to bring you on here more often. Good talking to you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the night. Thanks again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you.
Dan, that dude was sharp as a
He's sharp. He's sharp.
He's right about your damn people up north. Y'all don't want to do. Y'all just, and it's all this is a bunch of Dan Borreros up there. Y'all just, but then what is it? I gotta get my people to understand that there's more money in the private market. People trying to get these loans, Dan. I mean,
I think
not
it's a
just
stigma, including myself, that I went through that same stigma, and it took me a while to wrap my head around it. The reality is that I wouldn't be asking for private money on my first, second, and third and fourth deal. I would want to cut my teeth into a lot of deals
no
before
doubt,
I do that.
no doubt. Adrian, you got a house in Hampton, Virginia. Listen, my email is in either come on now or just send my team an email. We'll set up a time to talk to you about that sale. We can help you with that. We were going over something. Oh, the dude was 21. What is he at? He's 21, just bought a property. Salute for the continuous. You're welcome. Thank you. Somebody's 21, Dan, they bought a property.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. Chris, it's that time of night, man.
I know you about to go to bed, man.
It's 9:10.
Hold on. Just answer the guy right here. He bought the house. 21, bought his first duplex probably for $15K. Wow. Already occupied a movie into one side, stop the journey. What tips can you give him, Dan? You bought a house for a duplex.
I love the house hacking. My hat's off.
I'm mad at that.
I'm loving it. You are an inspiration, and everybody else,
Love this.
everybody young should be following you. Yeah, I don't want to hear that it's impossible. You have a 21-year-old kid doing this, so it's possible.
BK, we're gonna bring you on here one day.
Yeah.
Dan, final thoughts before we get you ready for Thanksgiving.
Final thoughts. Enjoy the holidays.
We got one more call, Dan.
Let's do it, Chris.
I'm gonna keep Dan.
This will be
You
the
gotta
last.
relax sometime, man. You're on the line. Caller, you're on the line with Chris and Dan. State your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Graciela, and I'm calling from Florida.
Trasela.
Celia,
Spell it for me, Dan. TRA.
Don't ask me.
Graciela. Graciela.
Graciela.
Where you from, Florida?
Yes.
I love
Well,
this accent.
I'm
You can
from
talk to me
Nicaragua, but
all
I
day.
live in Florida.
Okay.
What part of Florida are you in?
Broward.
Oh, Broward County,
Broward
South
County.
Florida. Okay.
Can you just talk to me all day? I just want you to just talk so I could just listen. Just tell me whatever you want to tell me.
How
can we help?
Graciela?
Yes. I'm calling to get an advice from you guys. I work as a insurance agent.
Okay.
And I pay my bills out of that business. And I went and I did a hard money lender. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I got a hard money lender, like close to 150,000, and I didn't know what to do with the money.
Hold up.
I
You got a
wasn't
hard
ready.
money. You got a hard money loan for what?
Because I wanted to invest and fix and flip, but it's not that easy. And I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I
shit ain't easy.
thought that, it was like easy, and I have no experience doing that.
Graciela, let me ask you some questions if you don't mind. When you
Okay.
said hard money lender, what did you use to secure the loan? What was the collateral?
My business.
Your business. And
That's
at
not
what
hard.
rate is the
Yeah.
loan?
Pardon?
At what rate is that loan?
13% annually.
Interest only.
Interest only. And so you took the loan thinking you were going to go do fix and flips, but Broward County is very difficult to find deals in right now.
Why, Dan?
High demand.
Okay.
So Who gave you this idea? Why would you take a loan without having them without having something to do with the money with?
Because to be honest, I apply and I submit all the paperwork, but I wasn't sure if they're gonna approve me. And then when I saw the money on my bank account, I'm like, what I'm gonna do now?
All right. How long do you have that loan out already that you've been paying 13% interest on?
I have like 5 months, but then I met a person that she does fix and flip, and I act like a private lender for her.
At what rate?
Um, I didn't know.
Maybe they're splitting profit. Are you splitting the profits with her or him? What's your profit when you say you were a private? You took that money and now you're a private money person with this other person. What are you charging them?
Right now for 6 months, but they're paying the interest now.
Oh,
I
they're paying
mean,
your
I met a
interest.
person that I'm not paying interest because someone else is paying it for me.
Okay, they pay it for you. All right, they're paying your interest. All right, that ain't
They're
bad.
paying it, and they're gonna give me 20,000 on January. I mean profit because they're paying the interest now.
Okay,
But
so
I need to know what I'm gonna do with the money on January.
If this works out, I'd ask them if they want to do another deal.
yeah, deal with that.
I
You need
take
to
the
keep.
20,000. You're going to pay the interest. Are you going to pay me 20,000 in 6 months? Yeah, I'll do that all day long. Ask them if they want my money.
You might want to do another deal with them, Tressiella.
Yes.
Yeah. So listen, I would personally. It sounds to me like you need education in this business. You need to use this time to educate yourself. Chris's YouTube channel is a phenomenal channel with different ideas of how to come into this business. You could also join my free mentorship class that I do every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. The link is in the website that Kris is going to put up right now. It's danielborrerojr.com. It's free to sign up. It's free to attend. I've done 115 free classes. Okay, you need to educate yourself, and it's not expensive to educate yourself. Between my free classes and Chris's YouTube channel, you have everything you need. You need to start educating yourself before you start either investing with someone else
Yeah,
or lending money out or even
I'll
doing
wait.
your own fix and flips or buying for long-term hold.
Use some of that money for education, right?
The most important thing is that you educate yourself right now
Yeah, yeah,
while someone else is paying that interest for you. Does that make sense?
Okay.
yeah. Educated. Hey, look, Tressiella, we gotta get out of here. Thanks for calling.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, Dan, can I want to ask you one more thing. Then we gone. Let me cut this off, y'all. I hear so many people fucking calling me every day. Kris, the market this. Did you see Bitcoin that? Did you see this? I want people to understand you're not a schmuck. I want to ask Dan too. People look at me like, Kris, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing this? I know real estate. I know it. I know it, right? I can wake up and go to sleep. I'm comfortable, right? I think we are putting too much emphasis on profit and ROI. I want to ask Dan, which one are you leaning towards, Dan? Trying to ride the wave of these administration change, market going crazy, or sticking with what you know might make less money, but you're more wise on the current investment that you're doing? Which one are you lean? Which one would you say is best for
I'm
the
not
majority
I'm
of
not the
people?
guy trying to time the market. I'm not the guy trying to be in the market. I am in the market with my IRA money, with my tax deferred money. But I'm very conservative. I've been buying the S&P 500 a certain amount of money every 15th of the month, whether the market's down or up, doesn't matter. I've been doing it for 20 years, 20 something years, 25 years maybe. So, do I have money in crypto? I do. Is it an amount of money that's going to hurt me if I lose it? It is not. Has it doubled in the last couple of months? It has. But that's my play money. I stick to real estate because that's what I know.
That's what you know.
That's what I know. I look at myself as I'm not the rabbit in the race. I'm the turtle in this race, and I'm just going to stick to what I know, and I'm going to stay in my lane because every time I did try to time the market or play the market, I lost. And every time I paid financial advisors and they were getting that 1%, and then they tell me, well, we did, only 2 points below the S&P. We did great. And then if they do a point, 2 or 3 points above the S&P, they're geniuses. So I said to myself, if they keep comparing themselves to the S&P, why don't I just go buy the S&P and not pay anybody to do this crap for me? Why am I paying 1% and trading costs and all this other stuff when I could just buy the S&P every single month because I have no intention of selling it for the next 25 years, right? So, again, I stick to what I know. I stay in my lane because that's what I understand. I remember Warren Buffett. I watched him in an interview once, and the woman asked him why he doesn't do anything with tech or currency or options. And his thing was, he happened to be having a Slurpee and it was I don't know the name of the store, but it was like a 7-Eleven, like a Wawa type of store. And he said, look, he goes, you see this business we're in? I just bought 55% of this. He goes, I understand this. He goes, I understand that when people come in here in the morning, they're getting their bacon, egg, and cheese and their coffee and they're going to work and their newspaper. I said, I understand when they come here for lunch, they're getting their sandwiches and they're going back to work. He goes, I understand when they come in here on the way home from work, they call their spouses, hey, what do we need? Oh, milk, juice, bread. They stop here and they fill up their tank so that they have gas for the next day. Because I understand this business and this is that's why I buy these type of businesses. So I that was an eye-opening moment for me just listening to that interview. Do we want to chase the trends? You can. I'd rather not chase the trends and stay in the lane that I'm in. That it's something that I know is going to stay viable forever. There's nothing that we do in this country, for that matter, almost anywhere in the world, that doesn't involve some type of real estate.
Nothing, dog.
Go to the dog groomer. Dog groomer is
music,
places in real estate.
All of them.
You're not going to go to your doctor without going to his office. His place is in real estate. The hospital is sitting on real estate. The building is real estate, right? You're not going to go to 7-Eleven, the gas station. You're not going to get a loaf of bread. You're not going to go to the supermarket that doesn't involve real estate. The house you live in, the shelter you have, whether you're renting it or whether you own it, it involves real estate. Everything we do involves real estate. This is why I'm staying in my life.
Dan, the reason I'm asking you that because my mentor says, Kris, there's a million ways to make $1 million. Choose one. And I think we, especially with this new administration, including me, everybody's calling me, texting me, Kris, I made 30 grand. I'm like, dude, I have to keep my nose to the grind. I cannot get sidetracked, dude. Every time I go out there, Dan, I lose. I might do a little something. I might make a little bit, but I'm like, when I just stay here, and Dan, I know you're over since COVID. Both, I can only imagine your net worth has gone up and you didn't do anything. It's not like you're losing in real estate.
No.
You're not losing. Your net worth is going up. The dollar is going down every day. Real estate, by default, it has to go up. All right, I just want to leave you out with that. Don't feel like you're missing the boat if you don't take action. Because if you do take action now, you may not even have the muscle to buy the right thing. Dan, even if you buy one of these stocks, you don't have the muscle to know which one to buy. So you're going to buy some other shit that's going to do bad anyway. So go do what you know to do. Like, I don't even know which one to buy. All right, y'all. Black Friday starts tomorrow. Join. If you're watching this after the broadcast, you can get in touch with Dan and I and book a consultation through that email in the video description. All right. Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Peace.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Take care.
Yeah.